Hello and welcome to my very first book review here on YouTube. I have been doing book reviews on my blog for maybe like 6 months now, and this month I decided let me also do a review here on YouTube, just try something different. I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book was really highly anticipated in the rom-com kind of space, and I really love Emily Henry. This is the 4th book of hers that I've read. Beach Read was the very first book I read of Emily Henry's. I had been in a book funk, could not get myself to read a book, and one of my friends recommended Beach Read, which had been on my list for a while, but her stamp of approval made me be like, okay, I'll read it. I read it and I loved it. I devoured it and it got me out of the funk that I was in with books. I remember after I read that book, I was like, give me all the romance. I have to read all of her books now. At least for me, after I read a bad book, it's so hard to pick up other books because I'm just like, I don't want to be disappointed again. After I read Beach Read, I read People We Meet on Vacation, which I liked pretty well. I enjoyed it enough that when Book Lovers came out, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I pre-ordered it like that. I was like, I don't even care what this book is about. I'm here, I'm gonna read it because I loved Beach Read so much. And I just feel like I really have enjoyed her style of writing. When Happy Place was announced, I, again, immediately was like, I'm gonna read it. I don't know what it's about, you know, but I'm here for it because I really like her writing. Unfortunately, this was not my favorite book of hers. I still really enjoyed it, but it's definitely not my number 1 or my number 2. It might be my number 3 or number 4. I'd say this book for me is like tied with People We Meet on Vacation. I'll give a full review here at the end, but if you are just looking for a book recommendation, and are just trying to see like, do people like this book, but you haven't read it quite yet. If you've never read Beach Read or Book Lovers by Emily Henry, I would start there first. This is not my favorite one of hers personally, but you know, we'll talk about that more later on. Let me give you a little synopsis of the book if you're considering reading it. Let me tell you what it's about. Here's the official synopsis, and then I'll kind of give you my synopsis, and don't worry, this will be no spoilers or anything like that. We'll get to things that are spoilery later on, okay? Harriet and Wynn have always been the perfect couple since they met in college. They go together like salt and pepper, honey and tea, lobster and rolls. Except now, for reasons they're still not discussing, they don't. They broke up 5 months ago and still haven't told their best friends, which is how they find themselves sharing a bedroom at the main cottage that has been their friend group's yearly getaway for the last decade. Their annual respite from the world, where for one vibrant, blissful week, they leave behind their daily lives, have copious amounts of cheese, wine, and seafood, and soak up the salty coastal air with the people who understand them most. Only this year, Harriet and Wynn are lying through their teeth while trying not to notice how desperately they still want each other. Because the cottage is for sale, and this is the last week they'll all have together in this place. They can't stand to break their friends' hearts, so they'll play their parts. That's a cute little rhyme. Harriet will be the driven surgical resident who never starts a fight, and Wynn will be the laid-back charmer who never lets the cracks show. It's a flawless plan if you look at it from a great distance and through a pair of sunscreen-smeared sunglasses. After years of being in love, how hard can it be to fake it for 1 week in front of those you know best? So that's the official synopsis. My short little synopsis is Harriet and Wynn have been together for a long time, since college. They are going to go on this annual trip with their friends, and they have broken up. However, they're not really discussing why. Therefore, they are pretending to still be together for the sake of their friend group. What could go wrong? Based on the synopsis, let's talk about, you know, some themes that you may be looking for in a book or may not like in a book. It's not necessarily enemies to lovers, but it kind of has a little hint of that because they're broken up, so they're not together. It is forced proximity, as you can tell based on that synopsis, that they have broken up, but they're forced to be together, forced to pretend to be together, forced to share a room together. So if you're into that kind of thing, which I normally am, then this may be a good book for you. You know, the synopsis mentions for reasons that are not mentioning. So this does have a miscommunication trope. We'll discuss these tropes a little bit further when we get to kind of the more spoilery parts. for those of you who haven't read it, yeah, this is kind of, they're not discussing the reasons why they have broken up, so there's a little bit of miscommunication. So if you like that or you don't like that, just kind of know that that is a theme in this book. And then this pretending to be in love kind of trope. I feel like you don't see that one as much, but that is kind of like the main theme here. Another big part of this book that they don't really discuss as much in the official synopsis is just kind of like this friend group, and they're all friends from college, and so it's kind of a fun part of the book. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the book. They're all very different, and it's kind of about how they have grown older and maybe become different, and how like distance and stuff like that, how their friendship changes. So if you haven't read the book, this is the end of the no spoiler zone. From here on out, spoilers ahead. So if you want it to be spoiled for you, maybe you needed to read this book for book club and you didn't get to finish it, or maybe you just want to know what it's about but don't care to read the book, you may proceed. So like I mentioned earlier, this does have the forced proximity trope. I generally really like that kind of trope personally in romance books. You know, having to share a bed, having to share a room, like I kind of love that. For me, I didn't really love it here, unfortunately. And I think the reason why I didn't love it is because it went so hand in hand with the miscommunication. The entire plot of this book hinges on miscommunication between Harriet and Wen. And I feel like every single romance book has the miscommunication that happens at some point in the book. And I hate it. It drives me crazy. There is nothing that drives me crazier in a book than when the two main characters get together and you're like, yes, you've been rooting for them the whole time. And then to test their love, there's this miscommunication because they just simply don't talk to each other. Just talk to her. Just tell her how you feel. But when it's just a part of the book, it's just one scene and they get through it, I can let it go. Like, I still hate it, but I can let it go. Unfortunately for Happy Place, the entire plot hinges on this miscommunication. They broke up like over a 5-minute phone call. Like, it's kind of giving Joe Jonas breaks up with Taylor Swift over a 5-minute phone call. And they just never really discussed why they were breaking up. Like, Wen just kind of broke up with her, and they were together for like something like 8, 9, 10 years. I know you're not really supposed to overthink these types of light rom-com books, but I just could not move past the idea that they were supposedly supposed to be together for 8, 9, 10 years, be so in love, and lack such basic communication skills. I just felt like his dad died and he was sad, and she was going through stuff personally, going through residency, and just pretended like she wasn't hurting or having a hard time, and just like didn't talk to him. And he was like, why isn't she talking to me? And so they just like broke up, and like he thought there was some funny business going on with another resident, and like they just didn't talk it out. Constantly throughout the book, it's like, oh, he seems happy. I can't tell him that I'm unhappy. Like, I can't tell him this. I can't tell him that. Like, why not? You guys are broken up. Like, what could go, if it's bothering you so badly and you're hurting so badly, what is the issue with just telling him how you feel? Or like telling him, hey, this really bothered me when you did this. I don't know. I know I'm probably reading way too much into it, but that really drove me crazy, especially as someone who has been with my husband. We've been married for 6 years, and we have been together for almost 10 years this year. So I kind of like, I felt that, you know, like we're together for like a similar amount of time. Like, how we had more difficulty communicating when we were younger, but like I'm a similar age to Harriet and Wen's character, and like this is really basic communication. Like, y'all are old enough to know how to communicate these things, especially when you've been together this long. As far as Wynn's character, I am still debating if I even like his character. I think I like the idea of his character. Like, I love the chemistry between him and Harriet. He's kind of all talk and no game, and he's just really passive, letting things happen between him and Harriet. When in his words, he says things like, "I'm not going to stop fighting for you, Harriet." And he says things like, "No," he says quietly, "in every universe, it's you for me, even if it's not me for you." When they're going through a tough time, he's kind of just like letting things happen and not like actually showing that. And so I think that's kind of what drove me crazy with his character, was just I felt like he was saying these things. And given they were in the past, these were flashbacks. "I'm never going to stop fighting for you, Harriet," like whatever. But then when it came down to it, like he was just letting it die and not telling her how he felt. And that's not how you fight for someone. So I don't know. I don't think I liked his character. Now that I'm talking it out, I don't think I liked Wynn. Maybe this is like a weird take, but it kind of bothered me how he would kind of like come on to her, especially like behind closed doors, before they had really worked out the bulk of their issues and their miscommunication. It kind of just felt like maybe he was using her. Maybe I am misremembering that, or like misinterpreting what the author meant for those parts. And I'm sure that was meant to just be like steamy, like we can't be together because we're broken up. But like in my mind, I'm like, y'all haven't worked out your stuff yet. Like, do not be trying to like do anything with her. Like, this is so harmful. But again, like I'm sure it was meant to be like steamy. You hurt her. You think that you can be physically intimate with her right now? No. Personally, my favorite part of this book was the relationship between Harriet and Wynn's and their friend group from college. And I personally love this because I saw a lot of like my friendships from college in this. I really felt like I resonated with the parts of like how distance changes those kinds of friendships, and how just growing older and being in different life stages changes those friendships and matures them and has its own challenges and stuff like that. I highlighted this line because it just really resonated with me, and my own experience was, "My best friends taught me a new kind of quiet, the peaceful stillness of knowing one another so well you don't need to fill the space, and a new kind of loud, noise as a celebration, as the overflow of joy at being alive here now." I remember my freshman year, I lived with 2 roommates in this one tiny room in college, and they are still 2 of like my best friends to this day. And the RA our freshman year had to come into our room like every single night because we were being so loud, just like laughing. And we really didn't mean to be disruptive, but we just would like stay up all night, just like talking and laughing. And it just reminded me so much of my college roommates that I saw a lot of myself like in Harriet and Sabrina and Cleo. So you kind of feel like a little bit of tension between the girls, and they're again, this miscommunication. They're not really talking about it, but they also don't see each other a whole lot. So they don't really want to like start a fight and stuff like that. At the end, you find out that Cleo is pregnant, and that is like kind of one of the reasons why there's this tension, because Cleo just feels like she's entering this new life stage, and you know, there's this distance, and she was trying to keep it a secret, and there's like a lot of things that go into it. But at the end, they work out their issues and realize that even though they're entering different life stages and this distance and stuff like that, they can still be there for each other. So here's one line that I highlighted that again resonated with me. And this is Harriet talking, by the way, that I highlighted. I don't need you to stay the same, Cleo, I say. And it's not having things in common that makes me love you. We're so different, Clee, all of us. And I wouldn't change anything about you. Like I said, you are a missing piece of my heart, and Sabrina is too. If your schedule has to change, or you start singing Barney songs to yourself, or become one of those people who post their kids' diaper blowouts on social media, then she gets cut off. I highlighted that because I've definitely had friendships where we are in different life stages, whether that's I have kids first and my other friends don't, and maybe that's hard for them to understand. But just because you are in a different stage of life as someone doesn't mean that you can't still be friends with them. I think it's important to have friends in the same stage of life as you, but your friends who are in different stages or have different passions or different jobs, live in different places, they're going to have different outlooks on things and just bring a different sort of life and enrichment to your life, and you can do the same for them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, changing as a person is not a bad thing. I think you see that a lot. Like, you have a longtime friend and you may say they've changed. And I don't know why that's a bad thing, because you've probably changed too in just ways that you don't realize. If we didn't change, that would be awful. Who wants to be stagnant? Who wants to stay the same? We want to develop new opinions. We want to grow as people. We want to learn new things, become interested in new things. That's what makes us interesting and helps us grow. I do think for some people, like if you have a really drastic change in your life, that will drive a wedge between you, but I don't think it necessarily should. I think that sometimes it's important to have, just different kinds of friends in our life. If all of our friends were exactly like us, that would be kind of boring, right? Everything is changing. It has to. You can't stop time. All you can do is point yourself in a direction and hope the wind will let you get there. So as far as the ending, I did not love the ending. I think like if you look at the book as a whole, I loved the first half. And then when the second half came around and you kind of realized what Harriet and Wynn's miscommunication was about, I just disliked the book more at that point. I think I was like, are you serious? Like, they broke up because like they didn't talk about anything? Like, even though y'all know I hate miscommunication in books, even though this was happening, it was still like the hopeless romantic in me is like rooting for these two. Like, you want them to be together. And so I was happy that at the end they did get together, but their ability to communicate and talk to one another and discuss their feelings really made me question whether or not they're actually a good couple, whether they're meant to be together or not. The healthcare worker in me, I'm a nurse. I'm a stay-at-home mom right now, but in a past life, I'm a nurse. I know how much money and effort goes into residency. Like, I can't personally relate to it. I have zero interest in doing so, especially after working in a hospital with residents. I'm like, y'all can keep that. That looks too hard. I'm not interested. So like, I definitely get like understanding like why someone would want to leave that, because it's just like a lot of work and a lot of stress and you have no free time. But at the same time, I'm like, she had so many loans and she's leaving it to go pursue pottery that she's admittedly bad at. I don't know enough about medical school and medical degrees, but there is a part of me that's like, you couldn't have done something with that degree? Like, nothing? Like, the only option was to leave your residency in San Francisco and go pursue pottery in Montana? I don't know. I mean, like, happy for you, but I am of the mindset a lot of times that like, if you can find something that you are passionate about and you're good at it and it makes you money for a job, then like, that's the goal, that's the dream, right? But at the end of the day, I don't dream of labor. You don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be miserable. I don't want that for anyone. But you do have bills to pay, loans to pay off. So like, is this pottery thing that you're bad at really gonna cut it? But again, I'm overthinking it. It's a problem. It's a problem. I'm working on it. final rating, I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Is it a bad book? No. Did I look forward to reading it each time? Yes. Did I enjoy reading it? For the most part, yeah. Like I said, the miscommunication really just drove me crazy. The whole time I was just like, just talk to her, just talk to him. Like, ultimately made me question whether or not they were a good couple, which like is kind of the point of the book, is that you're like, they're meant for each other. I hope they get together. But it kind of left me wondering, like, are they really meant for each other? So if you read this book, what did you think? I'm so curious if I am alone in my feelings on some of these things. I think a lot of people really did enjoy this book, which leads me to believe that yes, I did overthink a lot of these things. But if you had similar feelings to me, please let me know. If there are other things you would love to see discussed in these kinds of reviews, let me know. If you hated this, keep it to yourself. I don't want to hear it. If you did like this video though, please like, subscribe. Hopefully I'm going to start doing these every month along with my regular blog posts. And if you watched till the end, thank you so much for sticking around. And hope to see you guys next time. Bye.